He had disappeared before and always returned home safe. Disappearing was a coping mechanism for Lucas. He knew how to hide, and he knew when to reappear. But as the hours passed, I began to feel scared. The night was cold, wet, and unrelenting. The wind off the water vicious. Around dawn, George Sampson at the police station sent out search and rescue to check the woods and the shallow water. But there was no sign of Lucas. Cole and I sat awake all night and into the morning. Cole's mood seemed to blow in and out like changing winds.
"What were you thinking?"
he asked me bitterly.
"Why would you tell him?"
Then he seemed to grow sentimental. He said,
"Love scares him. That's the problem for Lucas."
I felt wretched. On the beach the night before, out of breath, the rain in our faces, Cole's chest rising and falling, he'd looked at me and I knew what he saw. My eyes black, the pupils dilated into inky pools, cheeks flushed and hot. I had a birthmark on my cheek, a faint mark like a brush of pale ink. When I blushed, it darkened, brightened. I sat up in the rain. I kissed his mouth, which tasted of rain and sand and sex. I remembered the notebook in his room and what he'd written. She is alive. I was. I felt powerful, in control.
"The three of us are meant to be together," Cole had said. "Look at this."
He scratched a deep line in the wet sand, then two more. A triangle.
"We're the three arms of this triangle. You, me, Lucas. We're this solid thing, this shape."
Now I felt anything but powerful. With Lucas out there in the cold, I didn't feel like a solid shape. I felt adrift, alone. He didn't come home all day. In the evening, I walked to the old lighthouse and looked up, imagining what it was like on the top. Nothing stirred at the lighthouse, but still I waited below for a long time. I sat on the nearby rocks watching for its light to strobe on the water, a dull, lonely light that I couldn't imagine did much good in warning boats or attracting ghosts. I was lonelier than I'd ever been. I thought about going home, turning off all the lights, leading Cole to my bedroom, my narrow bed. I imagined the heat of his body, his beautiful ribs. I imagined how every thought and feeling would fade to nothing, leaving behind only that dense, bright black hole into which all other feelings disappear. Desire. Instead, I went to Jack's and sat at the bar with Gordon and Sebastian and all the old fishermen. I was as lonely as they were. I found myself telling them about Baby B, about Cole showing up and claiming to be my brother. I told them Cole wasn't his real name. I told them that he wouldn't tell us where he came from or what he left behind. I couldn't stop talking. I didn't mention his skin or the feeling of his feverish hands on my waist, although I thought about it the whole time. I didn't tell them how I felt caught in a fierce current, my head barely above the surface, being swept farther and farther away from the things I loved. I didn't tell them that every time I was near him I felt myself traveling miles away from any familiar shore. They listened attentively, nodding. Sebastian kept his eyes closed. When I was done with the story, he opened his eyes and whistled.
"Yes, indeed,"
he said. "Sometimes I feel like nothing's mine anymore," I said. "He's taking everything. Lucas is my brother."
"Sure,"
Sebastian said. "And it's my island."
"Wait a minute now," Sebastian said, looking surprised. "This isn't your island."
"I was born here," I said.
"That don't make it yours," he said. "My granddaddy lived on this island. He came over from the Azores, little girl. You just showed up yesterday."
The fisherman looked at me with sympathy. My eyes welled up and I felt embarrassed. They were right, of course. People had lived here longer than I had. Families had passed down land over generations. Yet I felt deeply that it was mine, that I had some special ownership of the island because I loved it so much, or because it was all I had. "Grow up," I told myself. Stop agonizing over everything. So you make